and in consultation with CABT TV, we anticipate this will be the method for future meetings. As always, the agenda and packet materials were distributed via the Norwich listserv and are also available on the town website under the content. As a housekeeping reminder, I would ask both board members and all of you who have come to join us tonight to please focus your remarks so that we can understand the concerns being expressed, but in a different manner. Similarly, if someone else has already expressed a concern of you, please feel free to be recognized to just indicate that you concur with someone else's statement already expressed. And if you can't hear, let us know. I'm hoping to have microphones in the future, but we don't have any tonight. All right. That said, agenda review time. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Mary has so moved. Is there a second? Second by Aaron Lamperti. All in favor? Unanimous? Oh, and I should have said, Ralph Hybels has very kindly agreed to take our minutes, and we thank him very much. All right. So at this time, we are at the informational items section of our agenda, and we have started with a new initiative that may have happened in the past, but it's new to us, to improve the collaboration and information between the town and the Norwich School, as suggested by Tom Candon. Each board member is sending a member of its board as a liaison to the other board, and we may anticipate regularly hearing from our own board member and or the full board member. I believe the full board member is really planning to this year.
Do you want me to stand up or can I do this?
You can do it any way you like.
So I just want to clarify that I'd come to Tom to talk with him about creating some sort of liaison between the school board and the select board. I'm currently the PTO liaison, and in that role, I don't sit in on all the PTO meetings. I simply show up at the beginning, give a debriefing on what happened at the last school board meeting and anything that needs to be and then on my way. So as I leave my husband behind me, go home for it. So in terms of school board updates, you've probably seen all the warrant articles that have been put out now. In addition to the usual school budget, which is going up again, there are two additional articles that the first is the long-awaited solution. You know, kids that have come up through Marion Cross, you know that for about 3 years now, there's been an issue with sewage simply leaching out of the green and onto your children's clothing when they played in the winter. The green thaw cycle was being encouraged that your kids would come to school like food. So there's an article that will install a wastewater treatment apparatus underneath the front playground at Marion Cross, and that will produce swimming pool quality water that is then pumped out to the leach field. So this will alleviate the children playing in sewage problem. And the select board or the school board is very much hoping the town will approve this. We did put out an RFP. We got 2 proposals for 2 different systems. One of which was, I think, 1.3 million, and one of which is about 768,000. Less expensive. There are beautiful presentations on the SAU website detailing the septic system and what's going to happen to it. So if you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to see what's going to happen underneath the ground by the school, please go there. The second article that we have out is for a new playground. If you wandered behind the school, you may have noticed that the very old structure there is being taken down. It is now just, I think, a platform with monkey bars. There used to be a slide. A few years ago, there was a fallen tree that was the best thing because it's in beaches. For new playgrounds. There is going to be working on this for, I think, about a year now. They've priced it out. They've got the designer in, and the total playground cost is $370,000. So this is a ADA compliant and accessible playground. It's built into the landscape of the school. So it's going to look really cool. It's accessible to all. And we encourage you guys to give me thoughts on that. I've been instructed by the rest of the school board to further express our concern about the data services. Maybe it's still working on that. And Neil has told me to let you know we're continuing to post the track the waiting study. And as you may know, it's never far from Neil's mind. And he will keep a hot eye on that. And let's see, you can always go to the SAU website for updates on the budget, on the playground design, and on the septic stuff. So that's about it. Are there any questions for me? Do it.
Richards.
Richards, Norwich. So I don't mean to question. I haven't seen the kids off the depth produced some. It's to the set, but maybe a clarification. What he told me was, if I understood him, was that the two possible solutions that are proposed, which are pre-treatment types of solutions. One was 450 and the other one was about double that. So
The one was 1.3 million. Some of the initial numbers did not include the site work, which has increased the numbers substantially.
so the number that I'm talking about,
That was a pumped bear system on top of the soil and left.
But it's just my way with this. It is. It have been. Last dated February 3rd.
Okay,
So-
Thomas is supposed to come up with a one. I can email. Links, maybe you can do those things.
Notes. Your portion of the way.
Any other comments, questions? I have one. Oh, Jackie, go ahead. Jackie, can you identify yourself?
I'm Jackie Allen, I live at 15 Union Village Road. Thank you. Could you talk more about the timing of the tax and the issue of school years?
I think Cheryl is probably the person who speak a little bit more to this than I could.
Okay. That's okay with Market.
Please identify yourself.
Lindbergh, which is treasurer. Basically, the first payment for the next warning as an article. And the deferred payment on 2 more weeks, away out 2 more weeks. With the school's fiscal years beginning July 1st, the revenues are needed as soon as possible to fund the payables, the payroll of the school districts. How do we know what's good resident? And so, the due date out that the town collects the school's money as well doesn't allow the town to turn money over to the school district as quickly. So
the 2-week delay causes cash flow.
and again, we collected, we got to get it on a warrant to turn it over. So there's a delay in getting that information to the select board. So it just continues to be a bit of a delay.
So
More
it's
so.
longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. And it just makes it longer than it's been. But we've been getting it sooner, or the school districts have been getting it sooner in the past. Now, if Used to come.
It's still unclear to me.
That's what I was wondering. Right, that's what I'm wondering.
But Jamie,
We have,
what do you think?
yeah, Marcia might want to comment on your Brennan recent.
We met recently, Brennan, Tom Camden, Jamie Teague, Cheryl, myself, to work out, the possible ramifications of, how our payments might be more readily sent in, because we haven't sent in any payments, I think, since August. And, basically, there will be, I think, in our next packet, an agreement to be reviewed by the board about how we will be doing those payments regularly so that we can help avoid any sort of necessity for the school to take a loan, which would then, of course, increase our taxes because some of the things in that loan.
Shouldn't be necessary.
Yes,
Marshall, would you like to reiterate the brief reason the board's position is why we did that in the first place?
I'll leave it to you. Go ahead, Roger.
I mean, we've discussed this. This would be the third meeting that we've deliberated on this. I'm happy to summarize.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the position is that it was creating error. The income sensitivity was permitted from the state to be part of the share. Right, and so in order to make sure that we were not burdening people with the revision of these tax bills and, putting I'm going to take part of these. But I think that's a separate issue. Figuring out what necessary payments are made. So there's two separate issues.
I'm personally very clear about that reasoning. I just wasn't clear about the cash flow. It sounds like it's a bigger cash flow.
We'll see how it works. Pam, Smith.
Pam Smith, Norwich resident. I'm wondering if someone can clarify, when does the first income sensitivity come from? And why was August the years?
I don't know that, and that's one of the things that I'm intending to find out as part of this process.
So this thing right here. So I did so after we received it earlier, where for and you didn't to refunds from their issue credit. And so it was that advice that we received indicated it was actually recommended to be much later in September, which also is consistent with many other Vermont municipalities. That being said, we have the school, so we moved it up. I think this would ensure that we would target this time.
You didn't answer my question. My question was, what is the date that we anticipate the first payment?
I don't think it's I don't think it's
Unless we will have received the first payment, so I'm trying to understand how you know that August 30th is a state date.
the advice of
What date did they give you?
so I'm telling you that August 30th was insurance first.
That's a non-answer.
Well, I think
Getting the answer appropriately.
I think we have all we have at the moment, but we're going to try. So Roger? I think that you were next, Stuart.
There's another, there's some other issues with this. Those relate to what creating difficulties for the school. We would like to speak.
That's what we have coming for next year.
The cash flow problem is a difficulty for the town. And that's is why Neil and Tom spoke against this particular warrant article. We'd like that to be clear, that the school, as represented by Tom and Neil, feel that this is the wrong way to approach whatever it is that needs to be approached.
And under the law to, I think, actually, in the first step too, is to make sure that the school payment 20 days. So I think the dates have always been different each time, which the payment, full payments, has always been within the requirement. So I think what this sounds like, and then I think what it is, what I'm hearing that you're looking. As
Well, it's about $13 million, I understand, that we pay. And so what we're going to be doing is regular payment schedule. That's what's being. Right. Lily, I just had a question, which was actually two questions. I presume you still have to get a permit for this. I'm wondering if that's in process yet, and what's the timing for the work? Great. Thank you very much. And our liaison to this board is Aaron. Do you have anything that you want to say?
I just wanted to say that we did discuss this issue.
Okay, thank you for doing that. And are you going, what, once a month?
I think first Tuesday,
First Wednesday.
first Wednesdays. So
Okay.
maybe depends on whether or not we have special meetings on those Wednesdays.
Okay.
We all do.
We'll be at each other's meetings and based on our board schedule.
And Will Smith, I think you had a question.
Yeah,
I-
it sounds like the payment schedule was manipulated, to work out whatever the tax issues were, but it also put the school system in jeopardy for getting payments. Is that correct? When this is pushing this thing out 2 weeks, was a lot of forethought put into this. And what consequences it would be to Dresden and Norwich school districts. Try to get the money they need to pay their bills. It sounds like it's having to be jury rigged now, making loans and whatever.
Well, we're going to be seeing if loans are required, but if we're still in the nascent stages and we haven't actually had a vote yet. Did you want to speak to that?
Well,
Oh.
this issue has, there is a component of competing harms here. For the residents of Norwich who have road mortgage payments, there is a known harm, which we had, with testimony, and this is the majority solution. For the school board, there is a possible harm that, for which there are many possible solutions, one of which is the payment schedule, another of which is resident, very likely, and float the Norwich, as Jamie testified to the school board when I was there, and possibly float this difference, and it wasn't necessarily any issue at all. So there's a very unknown possible harm, which we're perfectly happy to discuss on the school board side, and a very known that discussed presented harm on the Norwich side. So this is not clear, very rigged, and we did reach out to the school board about this when we were discussing it, and we're told that this was something that was not going to be a big issue. So I think this is a little overblown. We're perfectly happy to discuss it. We're continuing to discuss it. I think there are easy, very manageable solutions. I don't think there's going to be any problem. And it was discussed. And there will be some details to work this out.
Okay, I think we've exhausted this. Okay. Well, if we haven't exhausted it, it will become clear to us as things unfold. So we are now at the consent agenda, and thank you very much for coming, Lily. The consent agenda, tonight we have 7 sets of minutes from board meetings dating back to December 21st. The older minutes were required some minor corrections before approval. Those have been done. Roger Arnold took care of those. In addition to the minutes, we have an AP warrant tonight in correspondence from, I think, just John Farrell and Joyce Hasbrook. And that, I think, the Joyce Hasbrook correspondence is in response to questions from Cheryl Lindbergh further to the finance report that we heard last week from Joyce. As usual, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then we can entertain any questions or pull any correspondence that the board is wanting to do. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. So moved by Mary Layton. Is there a second? Second by Roger Arnold. All in favor? Or do you want to discuss first? Does anyone want to pull any correspondence? Are there any questions or comments from the public? Board?
No, but just if we practice and we approve it, then we're accepting it.
Correct. I know. Does anyone have? I trust you've read the minutes, everybody? Yes. So is everybody comfortable in with those? Good. Any questions or concerns from the public? Okay, I would just note that John Farrell complained about the mailbox damage has been duly noted. And the board members, we need to sign the warrant tonight after we have approved consent agenda. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Unanimous? Great. Brennan is going to forward this down and we can all sign while we go through the rest of it. I'm going to start at the bottom of the table. Okay. The next item on the agenda is to approve and sign the 2023 Certificate of Highway Mileage with correction for Town Highway 59. Brennan, I'm just wondering if you can speak to the need for correcting Town Highway 59, and then we can proceed.
I can. So this was an error that was caught here, I guess, based on a title search in which we have determined that a prior road had been discontinued. Looks like that was back in 1992. Was never taken off the certificate submitted to the state. Therefore, the road still shows up on our official highway map, and the situation, as I said, was discovered in a recent title search, needs to be remedied. You'll see in the packet the proposed highway certificate, this, and we're asking, I guess, for signatures from the select board to, I guess, approve the discontinuation.
Okay. And is there anything significantly different about the Town Highway mileage that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of. I think it was a small amount of road, so.
Okay. Good. Is there a motion to correct the Town Highway 59 and approve the 2023 Certificate of Highway Mileage? So moved. Moved by Mary Layton. Is there a second? Second by Aaron Lamperti. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous? And so, yes,
So there's this kind of limited space to do your best, I guess.
there is
Signatures.
indeed.
And then that, you'll be able to do it. It's just, it's a little tight. And then, it goes to the town clerk.
Okay. The next item is applications for tree warden. Under 24 V.S.A. 871B, the select board shall appoint a tree warden. Our tree warden, Tad Goodwin, resigned, and so we must appoint another person. The packet includes an application from Matthew Hall. Is Matthew Hall present? Hello, Matthew, how are you? Would you like to say anything in regard to your application?
No.
Does any of the board members have a question for Matthew? Seeing no questions, do we have a motion to nominate Matthew Hall as tree warden and so appoint him? So moved by Mary Layton. Is there a second? Second by Aaron Lamperti. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. You're going to be officially appointed, and we'll be asking Brennan's office to provide the required certification to the state because we have to say who our tree warden is. And we'd also like to have the town website updated to have Matthew's name on there. And I guess if you have any questions, I'm not sure who can answer them. Brennan will be good. Well, thank you very much. One of the things that the board has talked about in the past was the emerald ash borer and problems that might be falling around us. So I think we do have a little bit of money tucked away to deal with that. So, you know, I think just come to Brennan if things start to fall apart, and we'll just work our way through it. So, thank you very much for coming. Okay. All right.
Can I comment that
Aaron?
Matt started his meeting with tree warden several weeks ago in our big storm by clearing a lot of trees. That was the walk through the road. Really helped him.
Thank you very much. All right. The next issue is applications for town moderator. This would be a temporary position. Last year, if you all remember, John Carroll retired from the position after some years of able service. There was no candidate on the March 22 ballot, and the position has remained unfilled. In checking with the Vermont Secretary of State's office, the elections administrator, J.P. Isabella, who's a source, I confirmed that the board can appoint a voter to be a moderator at this point under one of two statutes, and I won't bore you with those unless you want to know what they are. But we do have to do it in writing, I believe, and as you know, we have our annual meeting on the night before the polls are open for Australian ballot voting. For the annual meeting, we require a town moderator. We therefore requested applications from anyone willing to fill the position. If no one is elected at the March 23 meeting, the board will have to make another similar appointment. So with that as background, tonight's packet includes an application from Peter Orner. Thank you very much. Peter, I see you're here. Would you like to say anything about your application?
No.
In March 23rd is the date.
March 23rd?
What's the date? What's the date?
March 3rd.
Six is the information.
Please do.
Be there on the 6th.
Unfortunately, today, I think there was a DLTC program on, like, your moderator.
Yeah. I think it's important that you know,
Yeah, so we'll ask Brennan to speak purchasing that and sending it to you after you're appointed. So. Is there a motion to appoint Peter Orner as town moderator for the March 2023 annual town meeting? So moved by Aaron, second? Second by Mary Layton. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Peter. We are looking forward to your expertise. And we do have, we have some things we want to talk to you about in particular.
With the articles, yeah,
Yes,
at least one.
with one of the articles. So Peter, Brennan will be in touch because we have a problem with one of the articles. Meeting. All right. We are now at the article, item 8, appointment of an acting zoning administrator. This would be a temporary position. As we know, the position in the planning and zoning office is vacant and an advertisement to fill the position has been posted. In the interim, the planning commission is making a recommendation. If the board votes to accept the recommendation, there will be a contract with TRORC. The board would then have to vote to authorize the interim town manager to execute the contract with TRORC. I see Jackie is here. Would you like to speak to this?
Thanks, Tasha. Yeah, just to say that we're very pleased to have support by Two Rivers and have this employee assigned. It's a good situation, temporary fix that we're in. So, and the planning commission voted unanimously to recommend Kyle to the select board.
Thank you. And do you have anything to add?
No, I think the memo speaks to this being a good solution to our problem.
The advertisement for the permanent position is out.
Yes, we are currently trying to find a full-time planning director and zoning administrator that would be able to fill both of those roles on a permanent basis. And I think at the last meeting, I'd actually expressed some optimism that we might have found a good candidate who has since kind of pulled back from his interest in the position. So we currently do not have any candidates identified for that.
Okay.
Continue to look.
Well, hopefully that will change. Any comments from the board, or shall we have a motion to to accept the recommendation first of the planning commission and to appoint an acting zoning administrator from TRORC? Do we have a motion?
So,
I have a question.
You, Mary, okay.
Just the, I believe it's sort of a short-term contract. I think it ends at the end of March. Yeah, it's just sort of, but I think it can be extended, which does seem like a key thing. So, I was just wondering about that amount of time. It does seem comfortable to get caught up with the, I'm sure the rest have been filing a little bit. And you have the flexibility to move forward if the planning director and zoning administrator position is not filled.
I'll take that unless you'd like to, Jay.
I mean, I know you had the discussions with the servers on this, but so either of us can speak to it, but we really rely on Two Rivers staffing. Hopeful that we can continue, but I think they're trying to hedge their bets as well. You have this person 6 hours a week, which isn't a lot of time between them and I don't have visibility to the whole staffing situation, but that would be a constraint. You know,
Sure.
And that's, I think, the reason why they're trying to hedge their bets and use the March 30th date.
Does the 6 hours a week seem adequate to kind of chip away at the whatever, pending comes down?
It's the amount of time that they could allow, and the way we're looking at it is Kyle will be really focused on the permits that are coming in the door and trying to get those out the door. That will be his full focus. And questions that are coming in that Pam can't deal with. We have DRB matters, then doing what he can to prepare those. It's not a lot of time, but the full focus will be servicing residents.
Okay. So Jackie will be in Tracy Hall doing the work.
Yes, with Pam. In general, I would say so, yes. That will be. No,
Non-presenting agenda. Or supervision of the zoning administrator. The functions I open this week is by the town manager, or the absence of intermediate supervision of the director of planning. And so in this case, because we have Brennan as an interim, then it would make sense for us to be authorizing this contract. Otherwise, it would be within the town manager. So I just want to be really clear on sort of the hierarchy here. I think this has been one of the issues, the one issue in how the commission and how so I'm happy to make a motion for the point.
Yes, I thought I had another question, but I'll come up with it in a minute. So is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the planning commission, which we would have to do under any circumstances, and to appoint an acting zoning administrator from TRORC?
Sure. I move to appoint, I will pass the role. Authorize.
No, that's the second motion. Second motion.
So I move to appoint.
Can we, the contract is with TRORC, so I think appropriately motion should be. No, I wanted to, the motion I think should be to accept the recommendation of the planning commission to appoint an acting zoning administrator from TRORC. I mean, technically, if TRORC said we need Kyle to do something else, they could provide an alternate presumably. Contract is with them, not the person. So let's approve the recommendation to accept that contract. Just happens to be Kyle Katz, who my comment was, I was very impressed to see today thing on flood plans and stuff, which is fabulous. We've got floods.
So Marcia, are you saying to do this in order, we have to accept the recommendation first, right?
Accept the recommendation first.
That's just the way it's written. And then we have to.
Then,
Like that order makes sense to me.
yeah, and then we give, the second motion would be to authorize the interim town manager who needs authorization under his contract to do any hiring. Authorize him to execute that contract. So a two-step motion. So Roger,
So my motion was I move to appoint to interim zoning.
I think that given we're signing the TRORC not with Kyle,
Okay, so I just want to be, so like, I'm just suggesting that we appoint him as the another motion would be to authorize. So that was like, but,
okay. Mary, you understand the,
Well, I just looking at the motion sheet, it makes sense to me. I can go with this.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go with this motion. I move to accept the recommendation from the Norwich Planning Commission to appoint zoning administrator from TRORC. And that leaves it open if we have to be that specific.
he's not our employee.
Okay. So that's fine. I will just look into it. Again, I move to accept the recommendation of the Norwich Planning Commission to appoint an acting zoning administrator.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Aaron, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you very much. Is there a second motion to authorize the interim town manager to execute the contract with TRORC for an acting zoning administrator?
So moved.
So moved by Mary,
So, in discussion, don't we have to appoint individual positions? I mean, we can't, we accept the contract, it's still an appointed individual.
Well, in that in the first,
We can appoint a contract.
first motion says accept the recommendation to the board.
Yeah, but it didn't actually do it.
just a second,
So there needs to be an interview.
just a second. Okay.
Just trying to get through the logic here.
I think what we have to keep in mind here is it's almost like a staffing agency. And they're providing this person. Jackie, do you want
I
to?
just want to say Kyle is named in the contract.
So
we're appointing-
That our authority is appointed. Whatever.
And it's why. What I said when I said was, if we make the appointment and this person works under a contract, and that contract is managed by the individual, and then that's all.
And then who will we be paying? Kyle Katz or?
TRORC is who will bill us for Kyle Katz's time.
So I think, to be correct, we need to authorize Brennan to sign that contract with TRORC. We are hiring TRORC, who are providing us with one of their employees. That will not be an employee. No.
I feel like you still be able to.
We did something.
Brennan, do you want to weigh in?
Well, maybe a solution here would be to go back to that first motion and name Kyle Katz of the Two River Avakuchi. And I think the B motion here should remain the same, which is just authorizing me to sign the contract that's in the packet. So that might be the easiest way, just to
So why
proceed.
don't I suggest a friendly amendment if we take that first motion and say, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the planning commission and to appoint an acting administrator, Kyle Katz, from TRORC?
That's fine, but can you remind me, maybe Ralph can help us, what the motion that was made was, or maybe Mary?
I could just read it off.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I move to accept the recommendation from the Norwich Planning Commission to appoint an acting zoning administrator.
So I think the motion works because we have that planning commission named Kyle Katz recommendation. So therefore, I suppose this water. Thank you, Bonnie. So yeah, because we're saying accepting the nomination of Kyle Katz and the planning commission actually need Kyle Katz in their motion based on their minutes.
So we're good
I guess
on
so.
that one?
It's
So
just, I think Erin was right that it reads that we're appointing a contract. But it's okay.
So we're adding the comma, Kyle Katz, comma.
No,
No, we're not.
you're saying.
We don't have to.
It's in the second recommendation.
Would have been cleaner just to appoint an individual, but I think the individual has to be in the recommendation. And so by accepting the recommendation, we are accepting Kyle Katz.
And I think, in truth, Mr. Katz wasn't available. The planning commission would be very happy to have another person from TRORC.
But then you would still have to put them.
Not if we just approved the contract from TRORC. So let's, we have the motion on the table. Did we have a second?
So we did the first one, did the recommendation.
Did you vote it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then second one is to move to authorize the interim town manager contract with TRORC. And I still move that.
Okay. And do we have a second to that?
I'm sorry, repeat the motion.
It's on the motion sheet.
Well, I'll say it again. I move to authorize the interim town manager to execute the contract with TRORC for an acting zoning administrator.
Second that.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Unanimous? All set. Brennan will be signing that and getting that to you in due course. All right. Now we are at discussion items, and this is intended to be an open-ended agenda item intended to focus the board on issues impacting or important to our town. It's also an attempt to start a practice of initiating draft agendas well in advance of meeting dates so that the board can fully discuss issues without a rush of last-minute agenda setting. Having said that, an election is imminent, as we all know, and 3 board positions are on the ballot. So the new board may well take a different approach. However, we need to keep moving forward, and we have one more meeting on February 2nd, 22nd. So I would like to start with that meeting and perhaps consult the timetable attachment that I had prepared just to begin the process to triage issues and indicate when we might reach them. To start the process, I would offer that February 22nd should include a draft of the annual meeting presentation, so we should discuss how we're going to do that. Beyond that, my top 3 issues would include the obvious things, developing our specific path for the town manager search process, reviewing the ARPA spending rules, developing the process we'll use for decision-making for those monies, develop how the town will provide HR services, including development of an up-to-date personnel policy, job descriptions for town employees, etc. Not that those are our issues, but they are issues for the town, which I think need to be updated. And basically, any other thoughts that you all have, I would be interested in hearing and seeing how you want to progress. But let's start with the February 22nd meeting and see how we go. Thoughts? Go ahead.
Can I add one other topic? So we had anticipated having a audit report for the 22nd, and we did hear, I just want to let everybody know, we did hear back from the auditing team that they are expecting a delay due to, I guess, some complexities that they're experiencing and some timing. So my guess is, as of tonight, we might not have that report for the 22nd, and it might still be possible to have a report before the information meeting on the 6th, which is another 2 weeks out. But just to let you know, we've been talking in the last few meetings that we would have that audit by the 22nd. I'm not confident we will.
So there's actually, I think there's a
10 days.
So my, again, what I'm reading from the auditor as of this afternoon is we might miss that statutory deadline of having this available 10 days in advance.
Well, they're not ready. So what I suggested was that if you look at the VLCC website, there's a minimum amount of things.
Yes.
And so I said, can you provide that minimum amount of things, be it in a letter or whatever? And then proceed to produce the full audit as soon as possible.
And I think we there's a match. I guess it must have been. Please.
That is what we will strive for. Obviously, we don't want to miss a deadline, but we're also working with a group that has, time that they need to spend on creating a proper report. So that's kind of where we are.
So do we feel that we need to meet? If we haven't seen it on the 22nd, do we feel that we need to meet?
Well, let's keep it a little bit separate. We have a budget that we have to do a presentation, and then we've got this audit that isn't ready yet. So I think the 2 things are sort of tubs on bottom, but interrelated. And
Right.
so what I'm hoping is that we'll maybe very soon be able to get that letter, let's say.
Before the 22nd.
Well, I'm hoping. I'm not sure that, it's not up to us to tell them what to do, but, Roger's right, there is a contract, and hopefully they can produce the minimum that we need so that we can meet our requirements as well. And then separately, I think we need to think about our presentation, which, Roger sent out. Right?
I was just thinking about the agenda in the last meeting, I suppose drafting the presentation is our, I think, imminent task. But I think the other items are sort of heating up the areas that will need attention from whatever new board is present. So, I just think, I don't think we can really substantially make any just very many decisions. Yeah, for our personnel, but it's, maybe the idea is to tee up what we think are the most pressing issues. I think so. Right. And I would throw back into the pot, capital. You know, Tracy Hall, generators and so forth, like energy, the ideas.
Right, so capital concerns, energy efficiency, Tracy Hall, ARPA, and the issue with ARPA, which we need to advertise and which our moderator will be asked to emphasize, is that we are not allowed, and this has been checked and reset, to have a reserve account for that money. And so we,
Yes. Did you get that from? Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Right.
When I was reading through this guideline.
and so it needs to be in the reserve. Yes, the reserve.
A revenue fund is where I guess they're asking us to do.
Right. So,
So that impacts an article. That's one that Peter's gonna have to explain.
that's the one.
I wonder if he's listening right now. He's doing his homework. You can have to explain this.
I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I think we just need to ask the voters who will vote on the 7th to not vote yes on Article 10. And we'll have a better explanation as to why. But yeah, in general, yeah. But it's pretty much as simple as that, I guess.
Roger, go ahead and talk about that.
Sorry, so
Well, I'm not sure that they would have found it or not.
okay, so all right, so think we seek advice now. Things like that would go.
Strike it, process.
Well, it's already gone to press.
Yeah, yeah. My understanding is we can't really revoke an article that's been approved and it's now been sent to be published. So again, I don't see this as a problem that there's an article on there unless it's voted affirmatively. If it's voted negatively, and we can educate the voters that we want this to be a no vote, that will end the problem as far as I'm aware. We would have to go back and rescind it, basically.
I don't remember the language of the, if you say we have to say we move the money in it, or if you say we establish the fund. But it doesn't have any.
It does have money in it. The problem, here's.
Point, yeah. Establish the fund, then we're talking about if we establish.
If you look at the list, okay, if you look at the list of reserve funds, I think.
I understand that, but that wasn't created. There shouldn't be a reserve fund with the ARPA money. We've never voted.
Right, and so on the transition document, remember it said create a fund for ARPA? And you reminded us of that, and so we put it on the article. And number 49 says reserve fund. Now, it doesn't matter because I think we've got a problem with nomenclature anyway. We can fix all of that. And Joyce is aware of it and we'll be going through it. It should have been treated as I understand. And Cheryl has found this out from the treasurer's people. Brandon has found this out from the VLCT and their attorney. And so basically this needs to just be a reserve. My concern on top of that was that it's so hard to read with these masks and speak loudly at the same time. I apologize. My concern on top of that was, you remember when, and then dates, the deadline dates about when you have to do stuff or you don't have to do stuff. I really think we need to get in and really figure out exactly what we have coming up, what we're going to do with that money, what the process is in terms of, are we going to involve people in town? How are we going to make a decision to spend $1 million?
But I think what happened here was this one is and then also fund it, or does it take this?
Well,
Look that up. First, we establish the fund, and then
well, if you look at all of our published documents, it says we have reserve fund. And so what we were thinking was we were cleaning this up by having people vote for it because reserve funds have to be voted. So look at the language and see. I don't have it on me.
it doesn't matter. Look at that, but I think
But all the advice is don't vote it.
I would like to know, are we allowed? I would just, I guess seems like it's fine to have the voters vote on it, and then we then have to figure out how to rescind it.
Well, again,
We've been told to let people know.
Advise people on how to vote. That's what we're allowed to do.
and my understanding is this is not the first time that an article has appeared on a municipal ballot that was improper or was determined not to be the correct.
We wouldn't be easy to make concern is like I think we are up to It's
Well, you're informing them of why it would be negative consequences to vote in favor of it. That's different.
Carol, did you have something?
Yeah, just to add to Brendan's research. I mean, my initial research also came through VLCT, then directly to our auditors, and then to Katie, who's the guru on ARPA at VLCT, who I'm sure Brendan got a chance to speak with. But this is not a reserve fund. This is a grant. This is never to be called a reserve fund. And that is against the federal government instructions for it. And this would be wrong.
We're going to fix it. Peter, order.
Recollection last time is 2 informational meetings to discuss ballot measures. And so it would seem that would be necessarily will explain. There's a forum that you guys set up done twice, at least last time. It seems like that would be the best.
And you'll be key to do that.
At the town meeting, but the reason that you guys have.
Oh, yeah.
It's been in the public. It's some meetings last. Roger explains that.
Yeah, the informational meeting that you're going to be moderating. That's where all of this will be happening.
That's the day before the vote, or the night before the vote.
And I will be calling you to remind you to be there. Not that we're worried. All right. Did anyone else have a comment or a concern?
Can you forward us results of your work or board members?
Would you forward the results of that?
About the
ARPA.
Yeah, we have a chain there. I can put people on.
Or
Minor
Mary?
housekeeping thing. Yeah, just in our the organizational meeting, we suddenly have to be organized, even if we've never been on the board. So, you know, we've had a little bit of a mix of the warrants where for quite a while during the COVID era, finance director was able to send out, or the finance department was able to send out a DocuSign app so we could keep, the board could stay caught up with, AP warrants, which we are all supposed to sign, and then that kind of fell apart, and then we ended up with a little stack, which I think was mostly over there. But I think it should be clear that we are all supposed to sign the AP warrants, except for when they fall in the same meeting. And the payroll warrants are separate, where it's usually a voter organizational meeting for the chair, and maybe his backup, the vice chair. I know, so they're two separate warrants, but I just don't want that detail to be lost. And it seemed as though there was some move to put that in writing, so it's more clear. I don't know if that's the case, but maybe that would be a good idea.
That was one thing I was gonna do.
Yeah, as a little housekeeping thing.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. I think some of us who beyond, we just want to review our little rules that we.
I was saying why. So it would make sense that.
No, it doesn't make sense.
The internal mechanism.
No, I know all that makes sense, but then the other thing that was getting lost is Sunday, if you want.
Yes.
That whole thing, somehow this got lost in chaos. So we need to get that back together.
Yeah.
Practice. And it should be this clear. Do we need to do it physically? We're here physically, so there they are. So now it's fine.
Right.
And we can move away from our DocuSign, unless we have another.
Well, we're still using DocuSign for the payroll warrant.
That's fine, yeah, but, be a consistent process.
I agree. Roger?
So the future agenda items, and we took a. Exactly.
Makes sense. Like, what do you mean?
Well, we've got one more meeting before March.
Yeah. So I think it was more technical than.
Such as harmony.
It was to identify and do.
That was what the pain.
All right, so here we are. Let's develop a plan for how we're gonna do that.
Well, I think we just need somebody to share.
So just go back to that meeting and find the motion. And write up a motion.
Yeah, I think so. What we would need.
So we keep flirting with the idea of RFPs coming from the town manager's office. So what do you think now about you and Miranda starting to do that? Maybe in consultation, if you need help from one of us, we can assign one of us to do that. Do you have the bandwidth at the moment to do that?
For town meeting, probably not. Like in the next 2 weeks, I don't, I can look at those minutes. I'm not aware of this. So September 19th, you said, was when this was last discussed?
It was
14th.
I think a board member. I think it's.
Mhm.
So for the next meeting, someone could. Do that. Yeah.
So let's try it this way. If one board member wants to do those bullet points, and Mary, you're willing? Okay. Mary's volunteers. If you could bring it back to the board next, the 22nd.
Bring back the bullet points.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Brennan and Miranda are fully booked, getting
Okay.
ready for the meeting.
And they may not be highly technical, but all the techies can.
Right. So you do that draft, and that gets us started on that process. Good. Yeah, then we can review that, and going forward, we're still on the board, so that's good. Right, both continuity. Yep.
Someone else should do the same thing for the fund.
Mm-hmm. I'll go on to that. If I can.
Well, just because, I think we've left off. I think we left off both conversations that would develop, you use an RFP or an RFP to go about this, right? So the time, for the town manager search, we're looking first for.
And I have volunteered to do the. So I can do that. If you want to use.
Well,
Well,
firms that would be likely.
we actually-
Well, already. Couple.
We had some proposed by an expert in the field, somebody who works in it. Right. So, I can put the bullet points about what we're looking for and some, input from the community already. And if anybody else wants to send input, that would be very helpful.
For what we're looking for is
For town manager.
Well, I just want to be clear about what we're gathering information.
So this would be, yeah, I think this would be a RFP for the book of work, the desired expertise, or searching.
So I think we're doing two things, really. What we want for a firm and the attributes.
Maybe, but I would say that the attributes of percent is like the exercise of the firm.
Figuring that out.
So I think the only thing that we would do is like decide.
Well, I think it would be good to help the firm understand Norwich a little bit by sort of, as part of the RFP. This is the kind of person we think we're looking for.
Get the sensible. We're elongating by trying to get scope for turning it. You want to go straight into like figuring out town manager.
Well, I have the list of the firms, and so I can summarize that again for everybody, and then we can go from there. Mary?
So just thinking about our last search and that you were really regional in that sense, so that the pool we're drawing on would, I think, be familiar with Vermont statutes or Maine statutes in New Hampshire. But if we're going to do a national search, it's almost like there has to be a bit of deviation. Like it might be a person coming out of a county situation, or it might be a person who, an urban situation with a large population. It might be, good at it. So I think that when you think going in a national direction, there are many more questions about that pool of applicants. But on the other hand, we might get someone with a fresh look at Norwich, that might have some even innovative, to bring some leadership to Norwich. Because like any other community, we have our national problems. Affordable housing, employment, childcare, aging population, they're all there
So, you know, I think it's wise to go with a firm that can help us sort that out.
And I think it would be interesting to hear what the firm thinks in terms of the efficacy of the breadth of search, you know. Are we, in their experience, hopefully, they've seen successful at it.
Right.
So, Roger, did you have a comment?
No, I'm a little. I guess. Yeah. What will you be bringing back to us? Is sort of my question. I don't know. We have the same understanding of what to expect.
I think what you wanted to see were sort of bullet points that we would be putting together for an RFP for the companies, the firms that would be looking. We're not so much interested in the bullet points of the characteristics of the person, which I would hope actually would be important in the RFP.
So just more plainly. Go before, like what we want it to be.
Of the firm.
Yes. So yes, because we're talking about an RFP first.
Well, you are, but Marcia's talking about the person.
So my expectation, and other people can then weigh in on their expectation, that our federal member can the scope of work, what we're asking the firm to do for us, right? Or how what we want to see, and then like and then another one about their expertise. These are the two sections. I think I pulled these two sections.
And Aaron?
I thought about all that is saying RFP, really this is RFP. Really what we're searching for is firm. The expertise, but also whether know us. And then we give them the job. And they building a particular building or working with them building that we all decide is best in the process. So really it's not a few. So it's the qualifications for this firm are what we're looking for at this point. The process will develop the qualifications for the potential town manager. That's what once we hire them.
And I would just say that I'm hopeful this is not going to be a protracted process. We need to be deliberate and move. Well, let's see. All right. So I'm coming back with that. Mary's coming back with the HR stuff. Tracy Hall. I'm going to look at you, Aaron, and say,
So
what do you
we're meeting before markets something, Bradley. We're waiting for markets something to do the things. We're still waiting. Probably could be waiting. Kind of like these. Going on, putting together a final product, and let you know.
Well, I think we talked at the last meeting that he is feeling like after town meeting, like mid-March, he would like to come in with his final presentation of his report.
Okay.
So it would
I
be,
don't think we have, I think next week we have kind of cleanup to do this year. I think Tracy Hall is now the next, see that we're going to get anything done on Tracy Hall next meeting. But I think we just, is the,
So for the February meeting, we have to talk about the audit. We have to talk about the presentation.
I'm probably the person left here that hasn't.
Do you want to draft it? You want to take a crack at it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Vernon, can you think of anything burning that we need to do on February 22nd besides the audit and the presentation?
not at the moment.
Okay. Shall we
take in one more thing so that I'm sure that we've got a full plate? Or do we have to- Did you want to say one? I don't know, looking for reserves, yeah.
Well, next meeting, I guess, I was gonna do my, second town manager presentation, which will probably not be a lengthy presentation. And then Joyce was gonna have her financial report, for the second meeting as well. So I would entertain suggestions. Yeah. You're welcome to tell me now or send me an email, but we can put this in.
So you need to find out who's inspecting the trail, if it is a certified. Me too, yeah. So that's like kind of a big one. It probably needs to wait until spring.
Do you remember, Roger, that initial inspection to make sure everything is done correctly, or is it externally or on your way?
Well, no, it was the reciprocal agreement essentially created to use it and authorize with the permitting, the DRD permitted it. So now it's actually.
It's confirmation that it's coming.
Yes.
That's one part of it. Okay.
Trail, and
Yeah.
if it goes out of compliance and normal liability. So I think it's not maintain that standard or not at it.
Right.
So I think it is going to be.
Yeah. Or some
That
periodic insurance company might have to say it.
Well, we would have to. I don't know if these are questions that we do.
Okay.
So probably not an update, but just know. And then the other one, Tom McCabe, bless his heart, has been sort of, I guess, a cheerleader for pedestrian bridge, and they call this gift bridge. We were left with the understanding was related for that. That was natural. And then an update on financing private funds that would have to.
And I think Joyce has
I think she's
information.
resolved that.
She has information that she
So
can
it's
share.
not built yet. So I think that people want it. People who champions of the project like to see it built. The answer for them.
Okay, so, when we start off the new year, whoever's on the board, probably one of the things that should be circled back to, in addition to the capital projects, but looking at where we stand with the financial policy, the master financial plan, because we got substantially through a lot of those. And one of the things I was going to do was look to see which ones still needed work. So I think it would be a good thing to do that. And that builds into being a little bit more proactive in getting ready for budgets.
I think so. I can remember there was an RFP for this.
It's been going.
Well, because it was linked to another RFP.
That's right.
It was they were separated, but it was suggested that to advise her.
Right.
So there was a bid that was received for the review of the financial policies. I don't know if management decided they weren't qualified or if it was just not the workload with everything else that was going on. It was an undertaking that could be taken on. But then there's also like a couple local companies that I think like could potentially send the firm send the RFP to. So I guess it would make sense that if you're looking for like a quick thing, we should bring that RFP back, review it to see if it's relevant, and then ask that to be reissued and see what happens then.
I do remember, I wasn't comfortable sort of farming like that to some agency. I would rather we were more involved. The buck stops here. And I really think it's important that we have a little more input. There may well be, you know, there are master financial policies. We could take them all from the VLCC without paying a firm to do any work, but we have sort of customized them, and it's been a lot of work on our part. I'm not sure it was always good work. So, I mean, I think a lot of RFPs and hiring a lot of companies is expensive. And if there's good work product out there that would fit our needs, I'd like to see us try and use it. Mary?
Well, maybe we could think about what are we really looking for, like a kind of a consistent style throughout that adheres to statute, right? Like let's just say, Roger, that we did contract with the firm. What would you be looking for the firm to do? Because, for instance, on the I think it's our borrowing limit goes by statute, which in Vermont is kind of scary as to the capacity. So if we went under the capacity, that would be a value judgment of people in the town rather than something that a firm would define.
Aaron,
I've only heard hints of this discussion since I think it happened before I was appointed. So would be that starting with would be a good way to start, because then I would be up to date, and maybe that would expose, give you a sense of what we actually need to do, how big problem it is, and then we can go from there, trying to evaluate whether this is something we're tweaking or something we're rewriting, and just start over basically with a new work.
Yeah, and that was basically my list. A lot of things in this speaker. Things in order to be able to like do this work.
There's just a lot. There's just a lot.
But if you remember, there was like, you know, we're using that term bullet points. There were many bullet points that were proper. The operational issues that were created, the vagaries, you know, the inconsistencies of our financial policy. And so we wanted to be able to have the benefit of someone, third party, who does actually this work like every day to say like, hey, that policy as written creates a mismatch in the relationship in your office. And so we have the ability, we have the archives to sort of go back and like do as Aaron suggested and create, you know, these problems. And to your point, Marsha, like we're using the state templated language, but clearly Norwich's needs are more than templates, but also we need to know sort of the operational consequences of the policy that we're in. Not fully remembered in this conversation. So I think someone should do that for me because
It might make sense to wait until we have a
It might also be a good thing to have our current
auditors who will have just gone through the books. Have a look at them and see what they. But I have all of the financial policies we're working on the computer, so I can really do a little summary. And if nothing else, that can be, you know, a gift for the new board. Or, yeah, first, maybe.
Yeah, but I think there's also two, I think there's also two work about both of them, like, or like basically that. But then you have this other problem that I think I remember where you so there's like two things. So to your point earlier, like, yeah, the board needs to write.
Well,
Thoughtful, good.
We've got one.
And so it needs to be majorly over. So there are things that, but then there's also this other one. So it is, you use the word problem in your agenda. So yeah, there's two problems that and going to take a year, going to take a couple of months effort and the next work.
Well, one thing I can do is just send everybody a copy of the latest documents, because I remember the gift policy specifically through about 6 iterations. So,
That would be helpful.
okay, so I can do that, and then the next board can figure out what they're going to do with it.
Actually, I have this very more goal. Yeah.
Before it goes.
Well, we're putting like something maybe. Yeah, we got it.
I just have one more. Yeah, comment about this master financial policies. Linda Cook and I have been looking just to gather. And put them on the agenda. And it's really like going to grand examination. You know, they've been written by the others over the years.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with the goal or the sort of the time to create a large document. So it is still a hot topic. You just put it on where it's going. And then there was some sections of template from the LCP, which we thought was just a generic template. It was recommended by the town manager at the time. And it turns out it was an actual master financial policy from a town in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
And VLCT never like
right.
really.
And they also didn't, there was no attribution to that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little like skeptical on some of the VLCT stuff.
That would do it.
And also that financial firms, and I'm sure any of our financial experts could tell you, it's the broad framework, but it's also all the detail, and it's how not to get too bogged down in the detail while maintaining that, you know, that big uniform whole. So it's like our little patchwork quilt, really, our financial policies, and I'm sure we can be better with them. But I think we probably want to prioritize.
Yeah.
What we work on and what a firm works on. Otherwise, I think we may go down a very giant rabbit hole.
Okay, well, we did before, so that's
Right. So we know how that
But
is.
the rabbit hole. Remember, I thought like as chair. We were revising them.
Okay. I mean, think about it.
all of that's helpful. And it, you know, for a new board member like Aaron, it's good. And it's good for me to do that.
Yeah, we're rewriting that and getting firms to help us.
All right, the other thing I think we need to think about is we started a collaboration of collation of information from committees. I think we need to circle back to that. And Mary was going to get, I think she went to you, Roger, initially, the comments from committees and questions from boards. But we were going to collate them and just sort of, you know, identify sort of the linkages and sort of see how are we all working towards the same goals and the same purposes, and who can help who as we're trying to do the work of various folks. So I think that we need to return to that, and as part of it, I
hesitate to mention this, but I really think we need to get on board with a new website. And either start planning for that as a expense. But it would be really nice to have something that would be a one-stop shop so that if somebody wants to know what's going on in town, they don't have to hunt for websites that are not under the town umbrella. Mary?
I think just in some of the feedback that we've gotten from our committees, like the Conservation Commission and the Trails Committee, which is not, the feedback is that there's enthusiasm for the subject, so then there's someone who's willing to go in and maintain a website and to do it on a volunteer basis. And if we have a giant one, it's going to take a person that you pay to do that, I think. And you may squelch down some of that kind of nice volunteer fervor. You know, the very dedicated trail guys might not be, you know, I don't know, they might or might not be willing to follow the water. So I'm just saying. But I'm thinking if you move to town and you're a new person and you want to know what's out there, you know, I either want to, I have an interest that I want to pursue or I want to get involved. Would you necessarily see all of that on our website? I don't think you do. Aaron?
So it's an interesting discussion. I think it's a little bit premature for next week, but
This is long way.
okay. But
Oh,
two things. One is the one presentation I find in minutes from that about ARPA money included $100,000 for it. Right? So that's something we can talk about. Second, I like what you're saying, Mary, but you can see that we can have an umbrella standard where if you're writing a website for a town commission, you're required to have a return to the Norwich web page button on top of every page, and the Norwich web page, you know, has a link to your page. So there's a cohesion, at least functionally, without necessarily removing
And maybe some
some
guidelines.
of the liveliness of.
Yeah.
And then we should.
Right, which is not right.
Well, it's interesting that you're printing out a website that just got that. Because it assumes that the page goals will be correctly communicated to the public. And I actually think, like, interestingly, support and speak to their work, and then that's it's constructive to be in communicate. How does the public here work with the committee? Actually, communications. Right, and so I think
that was my initial concern that I brought up.
So I think they're separate, but like interestingly, really. Right? So like I think committees need to understand that the structure that I've imagined, this is in part, you know, for a future town manager to outline, is that committees ultimately are staff. That they're really dependent on staff having a point person to fully materialize their work. Right? And so like they report to the board, and then the person is able to then report to the town manager. So, you know, like otherwise they just have a programmatic. So if they don't have, if they're looking to effectuate policy, or if they're looking to introduce or capital changes, or affect something that if they work on an issue that affects all of us, then it has to be something that works to do something program for communication purposes.
I mean, that was my initial concern months ago, that we don't always know what's going on, and that we should, and that there should be a unified, coherent whole.
Yes.
Right? And so I think that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm also thinking at one point we talked about having board members just liaise with different committees. And I know that's a huge commitment, but maybe there's a way that we could do that, you know, going forward so that we have, maybe they're coming to us more regularly, maybe we go to their committee,
But-
meetings more regularly.
But I think it's like, yes, but I think it's gonna be more difficult. I think it's really quite. It means that, yes, sometimes it's going to mean that, hey, that thing that you were working on, that you as a group, we have told you that it, like this board saying, we don't see that as a priority for the next 5 years. We don't see any funding opportunities for that. And so I don't think we should work on it. And then it requires that committee to say, well, we just got feedback from the board. We're not going, that's not going to get it. And so it assumes, that, and I think that's actually going to be very difficult.
I think the first step is much simpler. Just find out what people are doing.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
Purpose of that.
Right. So I've never seen the fruits of that labor, and I'd love to.
Yeah.
Right. So let's make it a focus that we'll recommend to the next board that they prioritize that. Yes.
Yeah, Jackie Allen, meeting control. I just want to note, all the committees put out minutes. There is always that opportunity. Whenever there's not secrets.
Well, that's an interesting thing because some of the minutes aren't on the town website. So if I don't know where they are.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. And so I think it's just,
Although yeah, they may still be posted somehow, but to your point, there should be better linkage among all these websites.
and you know what it's like. Not all minutes are created equal.
Yes.
So hard to know. All right. So we have a roadmap now for February 22nd. Things may come up through Brennan's office. We have some ideas to put forward for the next board, right? So are we all set for that for the moment?
Speculating stuff is not nice.
No. The next meeting, if you remember, it's audit presentation. Aaron's going to give that a shot. Town manager presentation, including the ADA Trail Milk Fry, and Joyce's presentation. And that should keep us busy. And I'm sure something will walk in your door that you need to bring to us.
No, sometimes you're not.
Well, that's one of my concerns because
Does not matter.
Let's get creative.
I found that on a different website.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that reminds me that we are also going to be talking, we'll have the two board agreement signed next week. It's going to be ready. That's going to have the, Jamie Teague says she'll have it ready. The payment schedule, we're going to look at that for the school.
That's next.
That's the next week. So we've got enough for the 22nd and we've got a good set of things that we can recommend to the next board.
So, question, do we need, is that the schedule? Like, it's,
Very,
well, not for this August, right? Does it affect this August?
we have not paid the school since August.
Oh, so you're saying for this?
And go ahead, Cheryl.
Payment schedule would be for the next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to do,
Just gotta catch up this year right now.
right, so we're going to have a warrant
So,
that will show how much money needs to be paid, which means Joyce has to look right now to see how much money, I guess she can do that according to Cheryl. She could see how much tax money was collected and how much of that belongs to the school that hasn't been paid. And that will be on the warrant.
Should there be a little memo explaining how this happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the next year is the agreement so that we are trying to make sure that whatever happens with this warrant article, whether it's a problem or it isn't a problem, the nice gentlemanly handshake that happens so that people just send money on a fairly regular basis, it will be in stone.
Will be a formal
So,
agreement.
so what?
Basically, yes, it's going to be
Or is it
between the
an
two. It's really an MOU.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be signed by, I guess the chairs and the,
We had a bunch of people that would ratify it if it's approved, I think. But yeah, it was the town manager, the school board chair. Yeah, there were a number of signatures.
anyway, I think it's an MOU. You'll see it when you see it, but that's the only,
Not the discussion, I know, not
it'll be an action to approve it, so we can sign it.
It'd be nicer if it were a discussion where we could actually see it.
You're gonna see it.
I'm not
I know,
gonna,
but if
I'm
we
not
don't
gonna,
agree with it,
I'm not gonna vote for anything.
Well, we can send it. And then, the warrant just has to be paid. It's money that we owe.
right. But
Which
the
is the
payment,
separate.
the payment plan is a whole different thing, and it sounds like there's been extensive discussion, but at least 4 of us have not been party to that. But to ask us to immediately sign that, I don't think it's quite fair.
Right, we'll send it to council, send it to you, you can discuss it, and then we can proceed. However you want to proceed.
No, I'm just saying, it's likely to think it's fine, but if I don't, I'm not voting for it. I'm
And
just
nobody
saying,
would ask you to?
you can't ask me to, because I vote on myself, okay?
Yeah, and I would just want to reiterate in the spirit of that if we're being asked to review a legal document, I want lawyers to review a legal document.
You
Because
said
I don't
that,
want to
and
make a handshake into a legal agreement.
Brennan has heard it,
Great.
it will go. Good. Now, I think we're at the stage where we have fully discussed what we are going to do next week or next time, and what we are going to recommend to future boards. And now we are at the stage where I think we're at the executive session that needs to happen regarding labor relations agreement. So, ladies and gentlemen, after we have this executive session, we anticipate no further business, and I'm anticipating that we will adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. So, Mr. Long.
Yeah.
In terms of wrestling here, we're gonna make 2 more votes, and then we'll go into executive session, and we'll know what time to have this vote. And then, when we're finished with that, I think actually you can leave at that point, and then we'll let you know in minutes who needs to enter public session again. What time, enter public session and what time we do. Okay, thank you. And you're all set, thank you.